Alright, good evening. This is Jing again from Bukit Vista. So tonight I'll be describing a little bit more about prioritization and how prioritization is important for research work here at Bukit Vista. So this talk was actually inspired by a recent discussion I had with Siki Chen, who was the former VP of Growth at Postmates and most recently the CEO of a company called Sandbox VR. So Siki shared a pretty important insight with us just over the past few days about how important prioritization is to actually getting success on whatever projects you're working on. So why is prioritization so important? It comes down to a few things that I think is the mission of leadership. So as a good leader, I think there's three things that a leader should do well. A leader should be able to first identify opportunities and identify problems. This is a discovery process. That's part one. Part two is a leader should be able to organize problem solving and solution finding around this opportunity or problem that they encounter. And part three is a leader should be able to lead and execute the solution to completion and perhaps pivot or iterate until a reasonable solution has been achieved. Now, these three aspects are all pretty important, but the one thing I think that has, let's say, the most crucial competitive advantage is this idea of prioritization. Why? Prioritization is really difficult. It's actually something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's one of the things I've noticed even for myself. It's taken me a long time and a lot of experience to get better at prioritizing. Why is it so difficult? It can be difficult because it might be difficult to measure like which outcome that you want to go, and it might be difficult to forecast which particular thing is going to happen after a particular action has been taken. So what do we do here at Bukit Vista to help enable us make the good priority decisions? One of the things that I've realized is really helpful is this idea of an Eisenhower Matrix. So what's an Eisenhower Matrix? Eisenhower happened to be one of the leading generals in World War II from the United States, and he happened to be a US president. I was going to say better than the current president, but anyway. So what makes the Eisenhower Matrix really valuable is that it essentially divides everything into a few quadrants. I'll put it up on my screen over here. There's essentially a y-axis, and you put things that are important, not important on the y-axis. And then on the x-axis, you put things that are urgent and not urgent. Why is that important? So that allows you to actually see how things are framed. For things that are important and urgent, you need to do them now. It's a crisis. It's a crisis management. It's an urgency situation. But you don't want to get trapped into the urgency trap, which means that if all of your work is urgent and important, then something's wrong because you're not planning. And this is where the second quadrant comes in. And this was a big discovery for me about what is important but not urgent. Well, you should schedule it. You should manage your time and schedule a time to actually take after that. Otherwise, you just get crunched up in the first quadrant and always work on things that are important and urgent. What about the third quadrant? Things that are, let's say, not important but urgent. Well, those things you can delegate. You can delegate that to somebody newer in the organization and give them the opportunity to make some decisions and take action. And what about the things that are not important and not urgent? Those things you should just discard and declutter because those are not very important. So how do we use these principles here at Bukit Vista? Well, one of the things that we do now is we go through essentially a thought process and a work process to help us discover and how to prioritize. The first thing we do is, of course, we brainstorm. We'll come up with a bunch of ideas of what are the important things that we want to work on for the month or in relation to a certain theme. And after that, we need to talk about resource limitation. Now, a lot of teams, I think, fall into the trap of imagining at the beginning of a project that they have unlimited resource, that they're going to work weekends, days in, days out, and over holidays, whatever, and they don't plan their resources wisely in terms of time, people, or skill sets. So I think the part that actually makes a lot of sense is to write down what you believe your resources are and be conservative. Estimate a lower number of hours than what you would. Don't estimate that you'll be doing overtime. Estimate that you'll be doing regular hours, because then that forces you to plan more conclusively and more assertively. All right, once you have that, then you can map out with your team on the Eisenhower Matrix, what is important, what is urgent, and then map out the other items as well. And from there, that gives you a clear sense of your priorities. Okay, hopefully this 5-minute video can be helpful for leaders making decisions on how to prioritize, and hopefully prioritization can help your organization succeed during a time of crisis. Let's get through this thing together and stay safe and stay healthy in the meantime. Okay, good night everyone.